is Sarah Martinez. Clutched her daughter's fevered hand as she stood outside the imposing glass. Towers of Whitmore Industries, her heart hammering against her ribs like a caged bird. The morning sun cast long shadows across the corporate plaza. But all Sarah could see was the mountain of unpaid medical bills crushing her dreams, and the pale, fragile face of 6-year-old Emma looking up at her with trusting eyes. Today wasn't supposed to happen this way. Bringing a sick child to work was career suicide in the cutthroat world of corporate America. But when your babysitter cancels last minute, your daughter's fever won't break. And missing another day means losing the job that pays for her cancer treatments. You make impossible choices that tear your soul in half. "Mommy, I don't feel good," Emma whispered, her small voice barely audible above the bustling sounds of morning commuters. Sarah knelt down, smoothing her daughter's thinning hair, a cruel reminder of the chemotherapy. Treatments that had drained their savings and tested every ounce of Sarah's strength. "I know, baby. Mommy has to work today, but you'll be quiet as a mouse, okay? Just like we practiced." Sarah's voice cracked despite her efforts to stay strong. She'd been a single mother for 4 years now, ever since Emma's father had walked out when the cancer diagnosis came. Some people crumble under that kind of betrayal and pressure. Sarah had learned to bend like steel, flexible enough not to break, but strong enough to carry the weight of 2 worlds. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt like ascending to Judgment Day. Sarah worked as an executive assistant to the VP of Marketing, a position she'd fought tooth and nail to secure after her previous company downsized. The pay was decent, the hours brutal, and the corporate culture as warm as a winter morning in Alaska. But it came with health insurance, the golden ticket that kept Emma's treatments flowing. "Remember what we talked about, sweetheart? You're invisible today," Sarah whispered as they stepped into the maze of cubicles. Emma nodded solemnly, clutching her worn, stuffed rabbit like a talisman against the intimidating corporate world. Sarah had transformed a supply closet into a makeshift sanctuary, complete with coloring books, crackers, and a small pillow from home. It wasn't ideal, but it was hidden from the main thoroughfares where her boss might spot them. "I'll check on you every hour," she promised, kissing Emma's burning forehead. The morning crawled by with agonizing tension. Sarah juggled conference calls, reports, and endless emails while her mind remained tethered to the supply closet where her daughter waited patiently. Every cough that echoed down the hallway made her heart skip. Every footstep near the closet sent adrenaline coursing through her veins. Around 11 o'clock, disaster struck in the form of an unscheduled board meeting. The company's CEO, Michael Whitmore, had arrived unexpectedly for quarterly reviews, sending the entire floor into a frenzy of preparation. Sarah had heard whispers about Whitmore. Brilliant but ruthless. A man who'd built his empire on efficiency and results. Employees scattered like startled deer, ensuring every detail was perfect for his inspection. "Martinez, I need those Patterson projections copied and bound in 5 minutes," her boss barked, thrusting a thick file into her hands. Sarah's blood turned to ice. The copy machine was directly adjacent to her improvised child care center. She had no choice. Racing to the supply closet, she found Emma curled up with her coloring book, cheeks flushed with fever. "Baby, I need to make some copies right outside. You have to stay super quiet, okay?" Emma nodded weakly, but Sarah could see the exhaustion in her daughter's eyes. The fever was getting worse. As Sarah fed documents into the copy machine, her hands trembling with nerves, she heard it, a soft whimper from behind the closet door. Her heart plummeted. Emma was getting sicker. The whimpers grew louder, evolving into the kind of distressed crying that no mother can ignore. Sarah abandoned the copy machine and rushed to the closet, finding Emma burning with fever and clearly in distress. "Mommy, my tummy hurts so bad," Emma sobbed, reaching up with weak arms. Sarah scooped her daughter up instinctively, maternal instinct overriding corporate protocol. She needed to get Emma to a bathroom. Maybe call the pediatrician, definitely get her some water. But as she turned around, clutching her sick child, she came face to face with Michael Whitmore himself. The CEO stood frozen in the hallway, his steel gray eyes taking in the scene. A desperate mother holding a clearly ill child in what was supposed to be a professional environment. Sarah felt her career dissolving in real time. This was it, Game over. Sir, I can explain, Sarah began, but her words died as something extraordinary happened. Emma, delirious with fever and confusion, looked up at the tall, dark-haired man in the expensive suit and smiled. "Daddy?" she whispered, reaching out a small hand toward Michael Whitmore. The word hit the hallway like a lightning bolt. Michael's face went chalk white, his composure cracking like a dam under pressure. For a moment that stretched into eternity, the powerful CEO stood completely still, staring at the sick child who'd mistaken him for someone else entirely. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Whitmore," Sarah stammered, tears streaming down her face. "She's sick and I couldn't find childcare. And I know this is completely inappropriate, but I couldn't miss work because I need this job for her medical treatments and, what's her name?" Michael's voice was barely above a whisper. Emma Martinez. "She's 6, and she's been fighting leukemia for 2 years, and I know bringing her here was wrong, but is Emma," Michael repeated softly, and something in his voice had changed completely. The corporate mask had slipped away, revealing something raw and human underneath. What Sarah didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that Michael Whitmore had lost his own 6-year-old daughter to leukemia 3 years earlier. Emma Rose Whitmore had been the light of his life, and her death had turned him into the cold, driven machine that employees whispered about. He'd thrown himself into work to escape the grief, building walls around his heart that seemed impenetrable, until a fevered child called him Daddy and shattered every defense he'd constructed. "She needs a doctor," Michael said quietly, his CEO voice replaced by something infinitely gentler. "My driver is downstairs. Let me take you to the children's hospital." Sarah stared at him in shock. "Sir, I don't understand." "Please," Michael said, and the single word carried the weight of his own unbearable loss. "Let me help." The next few hours blurred together like scenes from a dream. Michael's driver rushed them to the best pediatric facility in the city, where Emma received immediate care. While doctors stabilized her fever and adjusted her treatment plan, Michael sat quietly in the waiting room, making phone calls that Sarah couldn't quite hear. When the pediatric oncologist emerged with good news, Emma's fever was under control, and her latest blood work showed positive progress. Sarah finally allowed herself to breathe. "Mr. Whitmore?" she began, but he held up a gentle hand. "Michael, and I have something to tell you." He sat down beside her, his powerful presence somehow comforting rather than intimidating. "I lost my daughter 3 years ago. Same age as Emma, same disease. When your little girl called me Daddy today," his voice broke slightly, "it was like Emma Rose was speaking through her." Sarah felt tears welling up again. But these were different. Tears of recognition, of shared pain, of unexpected connection. "I've been dead inside since my daughter passed," Michael continued, focused only on work, on building something that would make her proud. "But I forgot the most important lesson she taught me, that life is about the people we love, not the empires we build." Over the following weeks, Michael quietly arranged for Emma's medical bills to be covered through the company's charitable foundation. He also implemented new policies for employees facing medical crises, including emergency childcare and flexible work arrangements. But more than that, he began visiting Emma during her treatments, reading stories and bringing small gifts that brightened her days. Sarah watched in amazement as the feared CEO transformed into something she'd never expected, a father figure who saw in Emma the daughter he'd lost, and who found in helping them a path back to his own humanity. 6 months later, when Emma's treatments concluded successfully and she was declared in remission, Michael was there for the celebration. As the little girl ran to him with arms wide open, calling him Uncle Michael this time, Sarah saw tears in the eyes of the man who'd learned that sometimes the most important business is the business of caring for each other. The corporate world might run on profit margins and quarterly reports, but that day in the hallway, a sick child's fevered mistake had reminded everyone present that underneath the suits and titles. We're all just human beings trying to find our way home to love.